All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a definitive countdown of the 10 most influential archaeological discoveries that have completely reshaped how we view ancient Egypt. We're going to look at everything from legendary structures that showcase some seriously mind-bending ancient engineering, all the way to ritualistic finds that highlight a society utterly obsessed with the afterlife. By the end of this, you'll see exactly why this civilization was, and honestly still is, completely unmatched.
Here's the roadmap for our journey today. We'll be moving through the 3,000-year empire, ancient engineering, decoding the people, navigating the afterlife, ultimate wealth, and finally, global legacy.
Starting us off with Section 1, the 3,000-year empire, setting the stage of antiquity. Moving right along to Section 2, ancient engineering. We're talking about monuments of impossible scale.
So our crucial starting point here is the Great Sphinx. It sits quietly guarding the foot of the pyramids near Cairo, and it's literally the largest statue ever carved out of a single piece of stone, stretching 240 feet long and 60 feet high. But it's wrapped in some absolute riddles. Take this number, for instance, 9,000. Back in the 1950s, new evidence showed deep water erosion marks on the Sphinx caused by heavy rain. But here is the massive catch. That level of rainfall hasn't been seen in Egypt for over 9,000 years. Think about that for a second. If those marks were made before this part of Africa was even a desert, well, this civilization might be far, far older than we ever previously thought.
Well, their ambition? It only grew from there. Fast forward to the 3rd century BC in Alexandria, where the Pharos lighthouse towered a staggering 400 feet high. Built right on a man-made causeway, it was actually taller than the Statue of Liberty. It stood for 1,500 years, safely guiding ships into the natural harbor. It was so universally iconic, in fact, that the word Pharos in many languages literally translates to lighthouse. Talk about leaving a mark.
This perfectly illustrates their status as true master builders. I mean, they were crafting towering monoliths way before the age of modern machinery. Just look at the unfinished obelisk in the Aswan Quarry. Intended for the sun god Ra, if they had finished it, it would have been nearly the height of Niagara Falls. Then you've got Abu Simbel, a 13th century BC temple carved straight into a rock face, roughly the height of a 10-story building. And get this, it was built in just about 20 years for Ramses the Great, a guy who reigned for over 70 years.
All right, let's pivot to Section 3, decoding the people, going from gods down to humans.
So, how do we know all this stuff? Well, the Rosetta Stone was absolutely the ultimate key. See, this single piece of rock featured bands of writing holding the exact same information. Classical scholars could already read the ancient Greek part, which basically translated as a list of good works done by the pharaoh. But the massive, total game changer happened when they matched the pharaoh's name, Ptolemy, uncovering it right there in the hieroglyphs. By doing that, they cracked the code on hieroglyphic communication entirely, suddenly unlocking the whole of ancient Egyptian history for us to read.
But actually reading their history, it revealed a pretty surprising duality. We usually picture the Egyptians as these divine, revered, godlike master builders, right? But the 3,000-year-old Turin erotic papyrus completely flips that script. This jaw-dropping, adults-only scroll is so vulgar we can only ever show tiny snippets of it. Yet, it's incredibly important because it completely humanized our view of ancient Egypt. It's oddly comforting, proving that beneath all that complex spirituality, they had the exact same raw, earthly human desires that we do today.
Brings us to Section 4, navigating the afterlife, the ultimate obsession.
Picture this micro-mystery uncovered at Giza back in 1954. Why on earth would you bury a perfectly seaworthy ship right in the middle of the desert? Archaeologists literally found a massive 143-foot ship buried deep in solid bedrock from around 2500 BC. And it was brilliantly crafted too. Tightly tied rope joints, absolutely no fixtures. Just sleek, beautiful, and completely baffling.
Well, the answer completely transformed our understanding of ancient seafaring. Because, actually, scratch that. It wasn't meant for the ocean at all. The Khufu ship was a majestic funeral barge. It never once went to sea. It was designed specifically to transport the dead pharaoh up to his rightful place in the heavens.
See, they fully believed that the soul left the body, but actually returned at night to receive new life, making preserving the physical vessel an absolute must. To pull this off, they used an incredibly intricate and kind of macabre mummification procedure. They'd remove all the organs with surgical precision. They even extracted the brain through the nose. Yikes, right? After that, they'd soak the body in vats of chemicals to dry it out, and then pack it heavily with salt to preserve the flesh for eternity.
Let's head into Section 5, Ultimate Wealth. From pyramids down to pure gold.
We can literally physically map out the sheer scale of their wealth just by looking at the pyramids. While we all know the really famous ones at Giza, there are actually over 100 surviving pyramids still standing all over Egypt today. These achievements were built with such immense sophistication that their original architect, a guy named Imhotep, was literally elevated to the status of a god by the people. Talk about a promotion. Their symbols so iconic that thousands of years later, they even grace the modern US dollar bill.
But honestly, the treasures of Tutankhamun visually overwhelm you like nothing else. Discovered completely untouched after 3,000 years, the inventory in that tomb was beyond anyone's wildest dreams. We're talking 2 thrones and 6 war chariots. And the absolute centerpiece? A 24-pound solid golden death mask. It was accented with stunning blue lapis lazuli imported all the way from Afghanistan and featured obsidian eyes brought in from across the Mediterranean. This staggering, globally sourced inventory gives us a real, tangible feeling for the ultimate power and wealth of the pharaohs.
And finally, Section 6, Global Legacy, a civilization totally unmatched.
When you pull all of this together, these remnants showcase a society defined by unmatched wealth, complex spirituality, master engineering, and a truly lasting global influence. There has simply never been a civilization quite like Egypt, before or since. It just continually astonishes us, blending this deeply human core with massive, enduring mysteries.
Which actually brings us full circle to a pretty mind-bending question. If heavy rain really did erode the Great Sphinx 9,000 years ago, what other ancient, paradigm-shifting secrets are still waiting right now beneath the desert sand? I'll leave you to ponder that one. It's a great reminder that our understanding of human history might literally just be getting started. Thanks so much for diving into this explainer with me today.